My name is DelaRae. I'm the regional director at FI Project. I oversee Fargo and Jamestown. So I grew up in a home with a single mother. And so there was 3 of us kids. I was the middle. And my dad was never really around. And what I mean by that is he would show up occasionally, come take me for the weekend, but it was never consistent. So there was a lot of my life he wasn't a part of. And so my mom was raising us 3 kids. I guess I didn't really understand the chaos I was born into until I got older and realized it wasn't just ideal to be living in a house like that. And so my mom used to party all the time, wake us up in the middle of the night, whether the music was loud or she was drunk and yelling, or she wouldn't sleep at night and I'd wake up to the house completely immaculately cleaned. And so some of that stuff was kind of eye-opening, or she would go hide out in the garage for hours and I would try to go sneak and like look in this window. She'd get so pissed because I'd be catching her doing things. I guess I didn't realize it was an issue until it got to a point where my sister was 16 and pregnant. My mom kicked her out. My little brother went to go live with his dad, and then it was just me and my mom. We didn't have a place to live. So we were bouncing from couch to couch, and whatever individual she was friends with at the time, that's where we'd be sleeping, and it didn't really last long. So each night I didn't know how I was going to get to school the next morning. All the stuff that I had was in like a black garbage bag. And so I knew that wasn't an ideal lifestyle to be living. But this is my mom we're talking about. Of course, I'm going to follow her lead. She's my caretaker. And so foster care took custody of me when I was in 9th grade. And it was probably one of the most traumatic things in my life. Whether I came from a healthy childhood or not, like, this is my mother you're taking me from. My, like, safety, my security, my hero, my rock, all those things. Granted, I knew she had a problem with, like, drinking and drugs. Men were an issue as well. But this was just all I had known. And so when I was taken from my mom's care, it was hard for me to adjust, to go live with random strangers. And so that's when drugs kind of took play into my life. And I was using weed at the time, and it was just like an escape for me. It was like the only thing that like made me happy and have a good time, and I just was like, it made me okay with my life circumstances at the time. So that's kind of like the beginning of my career of active addiction. You know, some people have opinions on whether weed is a gateway drug or not. For me, it definitely was. It introduced me to other drugs like opiates and meth and heroin and IV drug using and felonies and jail, incarceration. So that was the beginning of the end, really. I thought my mission in life was to be a bad example. Like, I thought I was supposed to be the individual that parents would be like, you don't want to be like this, so don't do drugs. My mom had been incarcerated. My dad wasn't around, and I know he was using at the time. And so I thought this was a lifestyle I was supposed to be living. And I honestly thought I was going to die using, and I was okay with that. My first year of recovery was miserable. Drugs were such a coping mechanism and like my best friend at the same time. And so I wanted to quit long before I went to treatment. But once my probation had mandated to go to treatment, I had this willingness and this readiness to like put the drugs down and try something different. The reason why I was so miserable is because it just like, I was so uncomfortable in my own skin. I had no clue who I was. I felt like my skin was just crawling. I was an angry individual and I didn't understand why. I didn't know how to love myself. I had to learn how to like deal with my anger issues and understand my feelings. And I'm 25 years old and I have nothing to my name. And starting over, it was terrifying at the beginning. My first year was tough. I relapsed about 3 months in. I was in the same hotels with the same people, up all night, and like I just couldn't get enough. I got high and I just felt like I couldn't get enough, even though it was sitting right in front of me. And I came to this like aha moment, like a spiritual awakening in the sense of, I don't want to live like this anymore. So I have to do something different. That's when I decided to like deep dive into like a 12-step program to learn how to love myself and what it meant to have like beliefs and values and to understand that like no is a complete sentence and I don't have to continue associating with these people. I can choose to make different decisions that are going to better my life. For me, my first year, there was a lot of pain, but I needed that pain in order to be successful. kind of support that I needed and that I wished I had was, I know I'm biased because I work at F5 Project, but I wish F5 was up and running and doing what we do now, because I feel like I would have got clean a lot sooner. Type of support I needed when I got clean was like mentorship. I found that in a 12-step program, but I needed somebody to not only guide me through like how do I get my license back? How do I pay bills on time? How do I save up for a vehicle? Or, like just directions on where to go. I found that mentorship in a 12-step program, but I needed individuals in my life that were going to guide me on where can I find housing, because I have felonies on my record. What are my options out there? Employment, I just settled for whatever I could get. My first job in recovery was KFC in West Fargo. I was passionate about it. This is the first job that I'm showing up to on time, and I'm being trusted, and I'm accountable, and they're starting to give me opportunities of growth. And I became shift supervisor, and I remember the first night I was counting pills, and I couldn't help but laugh to myself, thinking if only these people really know who I am, trusting me with keys to the building, money to the safe. And so I feel like if I would have had more support in the community with the resources, that would have also accelerated my life as well. So I've been clean for 7 years. And the one thing that I would tell somebody in active addiction to help them find recovery is to reach out. Share your pain with others, because we want to hear that. I know for myself, if I would have known the individuals in my life would have wanted to hear the hurt and the frustration and the anger and the loss and the fear that I had, I think if I would have felt more open with individuals in my life, people would have known how to help me. Nobody knows how to help you unless you ask for it. We can't assume. And so I think getting out of your comfort zone is another one. Doing things you don't want to, right? So I don't necessarily want to pay all these fines, and I don't necessarily want to have to jump through all these hoops to get my license back in order to drive a vehicle. But I need to be able to do these things to get places where I want to go. I can't keep taking shortcuts anymore. And so that's what recovery is about for me, is taking that extra step, doing the next right thing, reaching out and asking for help, and it's not necessarily I need help all the time. I just need somebody to listen to me.